this year, the new development that we have just received is that the housing is going to be undertaken by the service provider, that is Mutawif, which means the limitations are now, the agents will not have an opportunity of sourcing the housing, because what the ministry wants, they want one contract for housing. They don't want many contracts. For example, last year, we have over 30 contracts, housing contracts, because sometimes one agent has 2 contracts from different houses, yeah? But this year is different because all the contracts has to be signed by Mutawif. So what we are going to do is actually to explore ways and means on how then we can work with Mutawif to identify the areas that we want our Hujjaj to stay. Then from there, the Mutawif will be able to sign the contract with the owners of the houses. That is the contract that we are going to use to produce the visa. Because without that, you will not be able to access the visa. So it is important for Kenyans to realize that that is the change that has been introduced by the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, that we are now going to have the service company sourcing for the housing on the other side, so that it's not, again, something in our hands that we can be able to decide the way we have been doing. What we are also been, and what has been also been emphasized this year is the issue of the airlines. We have been having challenges in the number of airlines that we are using. The government of the Saudi Arabia are actually advising that it is very, very important that Hujjaj use one common traveling arrangements, so that they don't have so many ways for the purposes of their safety and also accountability purposes. It is important to note that it is for the interest of Kenya and the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia that our Hujjaj arrive in the kingdom, perform their ibadah, and return home safely. It is the interest of everybody. It is also important to note that it is only easier to account for Hujjaj if they use one common travel arrangement. And that means we advise that agents or Hajj agents with the mission explore ways and means of minimizing the number of airlines that they are going to be using in traveling to Hajj, and ensure also they should actually reduce the use of the scheduled flights, so that we don't use all the flights that come to Jomo Kenyatta, the national airport, which again becomes a challenge on the issues of accountability or accounting for the Hujjaj. Bearing in mind, it's also important to note that some of these restrictions are coming because the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia is struggling with the illegal Hujjaj. All the avenues they are trying to close, they are actually trying to close the avenues of the illegal Hujjaj. And that is the reason why they are introducing all these measures, because illegal Hujjaj are Hujjaj who travel to Hajj without proper documents. Then they are actually going to use the services that have been paid for by other Hujjaj. Because when you go there without the visa of Hajj, it means you are going to use the money and the space of the people who are paid up. For example, if Kenya last year we have 3,300 Hujjaj, whom we paid for both for Mina services and Arafah. Note that we are only supposed to receive 3,300 plates or packages of food at any given time. But if you have an extra, for example, an extra 50 people, where are you going to get the beddings for the 50 people? Where are you going to get the food for 50 people? Where are you going to get the transport of 50 people? And where are you going to get, the transportation means for the 50 people? It means these 50 people will be grabbing the spaces for the 3,300 people who are paid for this Hajj. And the 50 have actually not paid. Maybe they have paid some scrupulous agents and who doesn't care to note that the comfort of the people who have actually paid for these services. And this is what the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia is trying to do. Because the moment they restrict the issue of the accommodation, they'll be able to start accounting people who have come on board. Because there is no way, if, for example, if they take charge of the housing, then it's going to be very difficult. You cannot have a possibility of having an extra person in the hotel. That will not be, that will going to be minimized and or completely eradicated. So they are now going to have, to be sure that if Kenyans have 3,000 people, the ministry, through the Mutawif, will ensure that we only have 3,300 beds for Kenyans in the hotels. So there'll be no monkey basins where you'll be able to introduce, you'll have your 2, 3, 4 friends, another one will be having 6, 7, another one is having 10. That will not be there, because from there, these people are being accounted for by the services that are being provided by the service provider. So, and I want to urge all of us that anything that is being introduced by the government of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, based on the Vision 2030 of that country, is based on the principle of making Hajj comfortable for Hujjaj. That is the intention. And whatever thing, introduction that they, any idea, any new strategy they introduce, our responsibility is the missions. Because it's not about Kenya, it's about the Hajj missions across the world. It is our responsibility to support, because at the end of the day, it is actually intended to make our work easy and comfortable to all of us. And I want to urge the Kenyan Hajj agents to appreciate and find a way of working within the arrangements that are being given by the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, because, of course, Hajj is in that country, and it is our responsibility to ensure that we follow the guidelines, the regulations, and the laws that govern the performance of Hajj on the other side. We have no, ours is actually, our field of playing is very limited. Ours is only to identify the Hujjaj, facilitate the process, and ensure that we move together in unison, and we pray to Allah to accept our ibadat. Otherwise, we should not get involved in other things that are based on the guidelines that have been given. And finally, I want to urge the Muslim scholars, especially the imams in mosques. As we approach Hajj, it is important that we use the minbar to educate Muslims about Hajj. Because Hajj, the way we are treating it, we are making Hajj to be just a normal adventure where people can decide what to do with it. Because it is not, you cannot dream of going to Hajj through as an informal way that you just want to find yourself doing the Hajj rituals. I think the Imams have to explain the Hajj that is accepted by Allah is the Hajj that I use the shortcuts to bypass the conditions, to bypass others, and do things which are not acceptable with the country that is hosting Hajj. Is that Hajj going to be accepted? It is something that we need to encourage our scholars, that they really need to speak about it, so that when we prepare for Hajj, we actually know the intentions of going to Hajj, and we know that we meet the criteria of going to Hajj, so that we just don't make Hajj just another trip of going to another place.